Hey, what's up, YouTube? Today I'm gonna react to Thinking Basketball. We back at it with reacting to Thinking Basketball again. How is LeBron still dominating at 37, bro? This should be an interesting video though. Let's see what they're talking about how LeBron been dominating, how he's still dominating at age 37 and shit.
20th,
It is crazy.
LeBron James is 56
Right here, 37-year-old
Toronto
ass man, bro.
made him the youngest player ever to score 50. And nearly 17 years later to the day, he matched that feat with 56 against the Warriors.
Yeah.
Somehow, at the age of 37, LeBron now leads the league in scoring, averaging just under 30 points per game, which would be his highest scoring output in 13 years.
Yeah, which is crazy.
So how in the world has James been able to stave off Father Time and excel as the league has changed around him?
Hey, medicine, bro.
Since Christmas,
medicine,
LeBron has averaged
his body
32
right.
points per game on an impressive 62% true shooting. This has coincided with Anthony Davis missing a ton of time with injury, and LeBron sliding all the way up to center in extended stretches for the first time in his career.
Yeah, which I think is stupid.
Playing center is a key part of his recent explosion because his gray-bearded skills are amplified as the lone big man in a lineup.
Yeah,
I've talked about his improved passing over the years, mastering pick and roll reads while adding sage tricks. He slows down just a little off his screen to cut off his defender, but he's also waiting for the big man to pick his poison, and when he commits to LeBron, it's a lob to the open roll.
Bro, I swear, LeBron is a smart basketball player, bro. He's smart.
Imagine the five-man running pick and roll like this. Memphis' center goes to switch, but he's not used to such passing wizardry from big men, since there's really only one center in the world right now who slices teams apart in pick and roll like this.
Yeah.
Playing with
but I still don't like LeBron playing center, bro.
Gives LeBron four moving targets.
He's good on offense, but defense is terrible.
Top, and he can hit them old school style with his back to the basket in the post.
Yeah.
Playing center also means he has more shooting around him, at least in theory, and he's been doing this.
Nigga, LeBron got no shooting around him at all.
Shooting around him
at all,
at least in theory, and he's been doing this long enough to read double teams in his sleep. This might look like the obvious pass, but LeBron finds an even better shooter. James has been throwing skip passes since the dark ages, back when shooters used to spot up inside the three-point line.
Damn.
And after nearly 2 decades of playmaking, he's added a few tricks. A big switches onto him, with a second one doubling. And again, this is LA's center, decelerating to move this defender by looking at the top, then snapping it to the corner for a much better option.
Bro, that fucking no-look pass is crazy.
Looking at the top, this is LA's center, decelerating to move this defender by looking at the top, then snapping it to the corner for a much better option. Here he's backing down a mismatch, so the Grizzlies load up to him, and then he shoehorns some sorcery around defenders. Even Luke Skywalker would be impressed with hitting a target that small. Another element LeBron improved over the years is his outside shooting. He's slowly transformed from a subpar shooter to one who's, at the least, slightly above average.
Yeah.
He takes a ton of threes at this point, which makes him more valuable from the outside, and helps him stretch the floor as a big man. The Kings switch the smaller Buddy Hield onto LeBron here, and Hield isn't comfortable leaving him. The big is switched onto a shooting wing, so he can't help, and that leaves small bodies in the paint for easy finishing. Here's a less extreme example where the Spurs small ball center switches onto LeBron, and because he's a viable shooter, he can't help into the paint, and Carmelo Anthony can attack very small bodies. Teams will sometimes downsize in response to LeBron at the 5 because he can be too quick for traditional big men who have to give him a little extra space. And if you don't put a big body on him, he's just too big for most of the league's wings.
Facts.
Remember, LeBron is huge, somehow listed at 6'9" barefoot, and who knows how much he weighs these days, but it's enough to throw some weight around and do a Karl Malone impression out there, muscling weaker players like a tank. He knows how to use his strength against bigger opponents too, sealing off the 6'11" Damian Jones here until he's forced to foul. With a little bit of momentum behind him, James is strong enough to just truck a more traditional big, and that little shoulder lean that launches Isaiah Hartenstein would probably be an offensive foul in the past, but a lot has changed in 17 years. Back in that first 50-point game, a svelter LeBron had to navigate more perimeter contact from defenders and then a wall of big men in a packed paint. Even in his first MVP season 13 years ago, defenders could ride offensive players a bit with their forearm, and then there were pretty much always 7-footers in the paint.
Damn.
James's dynamic athleticism made him one of history's greatest rim finishers, despite driving into more traffic back then. He had explosive acceleration on his penetration and the vertical gifts to finish into 7-footers. And by the end of his first Cleveland stint, he was strong enough to drive right through bigger defenders of that era. Even in the Cavs championship season in 2016, some teams were still trotting out 2 traditional 7-footers, making it hard for LeBron to drive all the way to the cup. As three-point shooting boomed in the last few seasons, defenders were pulled out of the paint, giving LeBron space to attack and bully the smaller players on the court. One subtle effect of all that space is that penetrators have more vertical options as they approach a shot blocker. LeBron can go to either side of this defender and slides left into open air. Compare that to...
Damn, bro. It's crazy how the NBA have changed so much, bro. In a matter of a couple of years, like, damn.
Into open air. Compare that to 2010 with an extra big man sitting on the block, and LeBron sort of prematurely takes off trying to wedge into a gap without crashing into anyone. Fast forward to today, and an even slower, older LeBron can attack empty space and finish over smaller defenders with ease. Whereas back in 2008, he needed those rocket boosters and hang time to manufacture easy shots. If we look at rim finishing since 2001 across the league, LeBron has put up incredible numbers in nearly every season of his career, adding more volume to his efficiency during his MVP years, and then in 2016, in his 13th season, his volume of rim attempts spikes while only losing a little efficiency. His numbers look incredibly similar for the next few years at an age when most players decline. And now in 2022, he looks like a comparable or even better finisher than he was back in 2009.
Damn.
I've discussed his improvement for adaptive finishing before, but so much of this is the structural changes in the league, creating an easier environment for big, strong, smart athletes like LeBron, which explains how an older, less explosive version can statistically keep pace with his younger self, who looked like he was engineered in a Marvel studio. And we can
LeBron was crazy. He was jumping through the roof. He's still able to jump now at 37, bro.
Despite LeBron's incredible longevity, there are clear signs of physical decline. His stationary, quick-gathered jump isn't nearly as explosive as it was in his mid-20s. A decade ago, his 2-footed leaping had way more burst, whereas today gravity pulls him back to the floor a bit too suddenly sometimes.
Yeah, he old.
In his 20s, he could power through contact and still explode upwards to the hoop. But now lowering that shoulder and leaping doesn't provide nearly the same vertical lift. And while there was a time when he could turn the corner and accelerate like a blur, those days are long behind him. Yet he's still bigger and stronger than most of the league.
Yeah, you can obviously tell that LeBron lost a step. If you watch Lakers game, like during the fourth quarter or anything like that, like, bro, he be gassed. He be gassed sometimes, especially early on during this season. He would be gassed during the fourth quarter.
By cutting at the exact moment he's recovering to the perimeter, and most centers just can't do that. But when LeBron is a wing, he loses that quickness edge, settling for a long 3 here instead of attacking.
Yeah.
And look at the
and that's why he shoot more threes now.
Big standing in his way to deter any drive.
Because that's why he shoot way more threes now, because like he can't just like bully his way to the rack every single time anymore. Like when he was young.
LA creates with 4 small.
Because like now he got to stay up his energy and shit.
Lineups. The Clippers have 3 defenders in the
so that's why he shoot more threes,
corner, including a 7-footer waiting under the rim, and LeBron resorts to jumping into a defender to manufacture free throws. Even on post-ups, it's harder to back down smaller players when the opposing team's center can just roam off Dwight Howard and act as a roadblock.
Yeah.
In these more traditional lineups, LeBron's rim numbers drop significantly because he doesn't have the same opportunities to attack.
Yeah.
And we can actually see this in the data. If we return to those rim finishing numbers, when LeBron plays center, he's putting up some of the most prolific rim scoring of his career. When he plays next to one of the other Lakers' big men, the volume falls back down to earth, but he still looks really good. But in the small sample he's played with two big men, LeBron is no longer an elite rim finisher.
Yeah, of course he's not. And because he don't drive as much because the paint is so fucking cluttered.
Even
So, like, there's no room for him to drive or
he still
anything
looks
like
like
that.
a different finisher with two bigs out there than in those small ball lineups.
Yeah.
And that's a huge reason why his scoring numbers have looked so different since moving to center without Anthony Davis. With LeBron at the 5, he's putting up the best scoring numbers in the league. But when he's had to share the court with at least one other big man, he looks more like a top 15 scorer instead. LA's offense is 6 points better per 100 with James at center. But the Lakers are still being outscored in those minutes because the defense is bleeding value.
See, that's what I'm saying.
Big man.
Bro, defensively, LeBron playing center is bad, bro. Because LeBron cannot play defense and, like, as a center and fucking be your, like, you know, best player on offense at the same damn time. It's, like, not possible.
With
bro.
LeBron as the lone big man.
It's not possible.
This is a classic defensive trade-off where downsizing can leave you vulnerable to mismatches inside.
Yep.
LeBron isn't even on the Clippers center here.
Easy
and
work.
when he does get switched on to him, he's not big enough to shore up the Lakers' disadvantage on the defensive glass, leading to second chance points.
Facts.
He's never had the quickest feet on the perimeter, but he's lost some agility on the outside, which opens him up to more blow-bys like this, and it makes changing directions and recovering harder.
Yeah, and you could definitely see this definitely shows when the Lakers went up against the Mavs when Luka literally like kept switching to have LeBron guard him on the perimeter, bro.
Or
like every time, bro, to close out the game.
Changing directions and recovering harder. He has no chance to help in the paint after stumbling toward the perimeter on this transition play. He is still smart enough on that back line that I think it would look better with upgraded defensive teammates around him.
Yeah, for
He's
sure.
on the corner man here, but reads that it's Spain pick and roll, and his reaction is just enough to throw off Ayton on the finish.
Yeah,
and while
he
he
good with
can't
help defense.
instantly bounce off the floor anymore, he's still big enough to target shots low like this and provide some paint resistance. When he builds up speed and can jump off one leg, he can actually still reach skyscraping heights. This is a testament to the $1 million a year he reportedly spends maintaining his body, which preserves some of his straight line speed and power off of one leg, specifically when he has the time to transfer all that horizontal force into vertical leaping. The first time I saw LeBron
Bro, that's crazy. That is crazy.
Then I was blown away by his straight line speed.
At 37 is crazy.
Older Cheetah is still really fast. That's also one of the reasons he's been so deadly in transition throughout his career. And he's still a ton to handle on the break, building up speed with that giant frame and overwhelming backpedaling defenders. Even at high speeds, he still has some change of direction and great feel for little moves like this, hopping back to the left and staying under control to finish around Klay Thompson here. LeBron's subtle tricks and veteran guile help him offset athletic decline, rolling to the hoop and gathering, only to fake his jump against the help, then clearing space to score comfortably. He's big enough to still be a pretty dangerous roll man, cleaning up misses like this, or using that fluid athleticism to catch and finish like few big men can. Heck, LeBron is probably more versatile today on offense than he was 15 years ago, and his improved shooting
I agree with that, because him being able to shoot definitely gave him more ways to score the basket than he did before.
And pop out for threes as well. This means he can be the ball handler, or a dynamic screener in the two-man game because of all the work he's added to his shot. And this allows him to pull off the league's best Nikola Jokic impression, flowing into handoffs and finishing as a roll man, or keeping it on handoff action and immediately backing down smaller players for some bully ball at the basket. Of course, when he starts pounding on smaller players, that S-class passing makes it hard to double him safely.
Facts.
So, while changes in the game today have slowed down his decline, and his latest run at center has even inflated his offensive numbers, LeBron James's continued success is made possible by that improved shooting, passing, his preternatural feel, and the basketball computer in his head that he's developed over the decades. And that's why, at the age of 37, in his 19th season, he is still one of the best players in the NBA.
Okay, that's crazy. That's a crazy fucking layup.
He is still
no-look
one of the
layup
best
is crazy.
Players
That's
in
crazy.
the NBA. To support this channel, check out patreon.com/ThinkingBasketball.
Hey, bro, another great video from Thinking Basketball, bro. I love these videos, bro. They're always breaking down shit, like, bro, so nice. But, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know in the comments what y'all think about LeBron dominating at age 37, bro. Let me know what y'all think about this video. But like, comment, subscribe, and I'll check you out in the next one.